Unbelievable horror stories, the scariest incidents in history. There are certain incidents to which not only the human emotion gets shocked and horrified, but those events which give rise mysteries and horrors. Heeding folklore, one can scare even the sturdiest persons with tales that are endured and shared from generation to generation. These real-life stories look at some of the most terrifying events previously reported, each of which is most mysterious and terrifying. In this video, we will tell the 8 most scariest incidents in history. The first terrifying incident: the Haunted Forest of Aokigahara. Japan's Aokigahara Forest, also known as the Sea of Trees, is a place of haunting beauty. Located at the northwest base of Mount Fuji, this dense forest has a dark reputation. For decades, it has been associated with death and despair, becoming infamous as a site where many have chosen to end their lives. In 1960, a young woman named Yuki decided to explore the forest. Yuki was a spirited individual, fascinated by the supernatural and unswayed by the forest's grim reputation. Armed with a map, a compass, and her camera, she ventured into Aokigahara, hoping to capture the forest's eerie essence on film. As she delved deeper into the woods, Yuki felt an unsettling presence. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional rustling of leaves. Hours passed, and she realized she was lost. Panic set in as she tried to retrace her steps, but every direction seemed identical, the forest's layout like a maze designed to entrap the unwary. Night fell, and Yuki's flashlight flickered, casting long, grotesque shadows among the trees. In the dim light, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A figure, pale and gaunt, standing between the trees, watching her. The figure disappeared when she shone her light directly at it, leaving Yuki questioning her sanity. She tried to calm herself, convincing herself it was just a trick of the light. But as the hours dragged on, the figure appeared again and again, always at the edge of her vision, always watching. Desperate, Yuki began to run, but no matter how far she went, the figure was always there. Finally, exhaustion overcame her, and she collapsed under a large tree, tears streaming down her face. She heard whispers around her, soft and mournful, as if the forest itself was crying. In her delirium, she felt a cold hand touch her shoulder, and a voice whispered in her ear, "Join us." The next morning, a search party found Yuki's belongings, but no trace of her. Her camera was discovered with undeveloped film inside. When the film was processed, the last photo showed Yuki's terrified face, and behind her, a ghostly figure with hollow eyes. The second terrifying incident: the curse of the Hope Diamond. The Hope Diamond is one of the most famous gemstones in the world, known for its striking blue color and storied past. But it is also infamous for its supposed curse, bringing misfortune and tragedy to its owners. The diamond's history can be traced back to India, where it was allegedly stolen from the eye of a statue of the Hindu goddess Sita. The thief, a French merchant named Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, brought the gem to Europe. Shortly after selling it to King Louis XIV, Tavernier was torn apart by wild dogs during a journey in Russia. King Louis XIV had the diamond recouped, and it became known as the French Blue. It adorned the neck of the king's mistress, Madame de Montespan, who fell out of favor and was exiled. The diamond then passed to Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, both of whom met their ends at the guillotine during the French Revolution. After disappearing during the looting of the French crown jewels, the diamond resurfaced in London. It was acquired by Henry Philip Hope, from whom it got its current name, but misfortune continued to follow it. Several members of the Hope family faced financial ruin, and Lord Francis Hope, a later owner, was forced to sell it to pay off debts. In 1910, the diamond was bought by Pierre Cartier, who sold it to the American socialite Evelyn Walsh McLean. Tragedy struck the McLean family repeatedly. Their son died in a car accident, their daughter committed suicide, and Evelyn herself succumbed to alcoholism and depression. In 1949, the diamond was sold to jeweler Harry Winston, who later donated it to the Smithsonian Institution. Since then, the Hope Diamond has been safely displayed there, seemingly bringing an end to its cursed history. However, some believe the curse still lingers. Museum staff have reported strange occurrences, from flickering lights to cold drafts. Visitors have also claimed to feel a sense of unease when near the diamond, as if they are being watched by unseen eyes. The third terrifying incident. The ghost ship, Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste was an American merchant brigantine discovered adrift and deserted in the Atlantic Ocean in 1872. The ship was found in seaworthy condition, with its cargo intact, but the crew was nowhere to be found. Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and a crew of 7 had set sail from New York to Genoa, Italy. The ship's log recorded nothing amiss until November 25, 1872. The Mary Celeste was found on December 4, 1872, by the British brig Dei Gratia. The ship's only lifeboat was missing, and it seemed the crew had abandoned ship in a hurry. Theories about the crew's fate abound. Some suggest a mutiny, though no signs of violence were found. Others speculate about a pirate attack, yet valuable items were left untouched. A more plausible theory involves a sudden squall or waterspout, causing the crew to panic and abandon ship. However, the most chilling theory involves the paranormal. According to some accounts, the Mary Celeste was cursed from the start. Crew members reported hearing ghostly whispers and seeing apparitions on ship. Captain Briggs, a devout Christian, allegedly dismissed these claims as superstitious nonsense. In the years following the discovery, many ships reported seeing a ghostly brig matching the Mary Celeste's description, sailing aimlessly in the open ocean. These sightings fueled speculation that the ship and its crew were doomed to wander the seas forever. To this day, the fate of the Mary Celeste's crew remains one of maritime history's greatest mysteries. The ship's ghostly reputation endures, making it a staple of seafaring lore. The fourth terrifying incident, the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 1959, 9 experienced hikers led by Igor Dyatlov set out on an expedition in the Ural Mountains of Russia. They planned to reach Otorten Mountain, but never made it. Their bodies were found weeks later under mysterious and horrific circumstances. The hikers' tent was discovered ripped open from the inside, suggesting they had fled in terror. Most were inadequately dressed for the harsh conditions, wearing only socks or one shoe. Their bodies were found scattered around the camp, some with severe injuries. 4 of the hikers suffered traumatic deaths. 1 had major skull damage, 2 had severe chest injuries, and 1 had a fractured skull. Yet, strangely, there were no signs of a struggle, and the injuries were compared to those of a car crash, too intense to have been caused by another human. Adding to the mystery, some of the hikers' clothing was found to be radioactive, and witnesses reported seeing strange orange spheres in the sky around the time of the incident. The Soviet government classified the case as death by an unknown compelling force and closed the investigation, fueling countless conspiracy theories. Some believe the hikers encountered secret military experiments, while others suggest a Yeti attack. UFO sightings and paranormal activity have also been proposed. Despite numerous investigations and theories, the true cause of the Dyatlov Pass incident remains a chilling enigma. The fifth terrifying incident, the Bell Witch haunting. In the early 19th century, the Bell family of Adams, Tennessee, experienced one of America's most famous hauntings. The Bell Witch, as it came to be known, tormented the family for years with unexplained phenomena and malevolent attacks. It began in 1817 when John Bell, the family patriarch, noticed strange animals around his property. Soon, the family started hearing knocking sounds on their walls and doors. The noises escalated to whispering voices and poltergeist activity. Furniture moved on its own, and the children were physically attacked by invisible forces. The entity identified itself as Kate. a witch who claimed to have cursed John Bell. Kate seemed to have a particular vendetta against John, tormenting him relentlessly. She also targeted his daughter Betsy, pinching, slapping, and pulling her hair. Word of the haunting spread, attracting curious visitors, including future President Andrew Jackson. Jackson's men reportedly fled in terror after encountering the witch's wrath. Despite numerous attempts to exorcise the spirit, Kate's presence remained. In 1820, John Bell died, with Kate allegedly taking credit for his death. After his passing, the activity subsided, though Kate promised to return in 7 years. True to her word, the haunting resumed briefly in 1827 before ceasing altogether. The Bell Witch legend has inspired books, movies, and folklore, making it one of the most enduring and terrifying hauntings in American history. The sixth terrifying incident, the Enfield Poltergeist. In 1977, the Hodgson family of Enfield, London, became the center of a terrifying poltergeist case. Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children experienced a series of bizarre and violent phenomena that drew the attention of paranormal investigators and the media. It started with strange noises, knocks and bangs that seemed to come from the walls and ceiling. Furniture moved on its own and objects were thrown across rooms. The activity centered around 11-year-old Janet, who was often at the epicenter of the disturbances. Janet began experiencing possession-like episodes, speaking in a deep, gravelly voice that claimed to be the spirit of Bill Wilkins, a man who had died in the house years earlier. Investigators from the Society for Psychical Research, Maurice Grosse, and Guy Lyon Playfair documented the phenomena, capturing audio recordings and photographs of the events. Skeptics argued that the girls were faking the incidents for attention, and some of the activity was indeed proven to be staged. However, many of the events defied explanation. Witnesses, including police officers and neighbors, corroborated the Hodgsons' accounts, lending credibility to the case. The Enfield poltergeist remains one of the most well-documented and controversial hauntings in history. Whether a genuine paranormal event or an elaborate hoax, the case continues to fascinate and terrify those who study it. The seventh terrifying incident, the Amityville Horror. The Amityville Horror is perhaps the most famous haunted house story in modern times. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family in their home at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. 13 months later, the Lutz family moved into the house, unaware of its gruesome history. George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, began experiencing terrifying events almost immediately. Strange odors, cold spots, and disembodied voices plagued the house. George became increasingly erratic, obsessed with the house's history and its supposed demonic presence. The family's dog, Harry, barked incessantly at an unseen entity, and their youngest daughter, Missy, spoke of an imaginary friend named Jody, who she claimed was a demonic pig with glowing red eyes. The Lutzes witnessed objects moving on their own, and George discovered a hidden room in the basement, painted red and filled with an oppressive sense of evil. The final straw came when the Lutzes saw green slime oozing from the walls and heard terrifying noises throughout the house. After just 28 days, they fled, leaving their belongings behind. The story of the Amityville Horror became a media sensation, inspiring books and movies. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called in and claimed to have encountered demonic entities in the house. Skeptics argue that the Lutzes fabricated the story for financial gain, but the family's ordeal remains a chilling chapter in the annals of haunted house lore. The eighth terrifying incident, the Screaming Skull of Bettiscombe Manor. Bettiscombe Manor in Dorset, England, is home to one of the most bizarre and terrifying hauntings, the Screaming Skull. The legend dates back to the 18th century when Azariah Pinney, the manor's owner, returned from the West Indies with an enslaved African servant. The servant fell ill and, on his deathbed, requested that his body be returned to his homeland. Penny promised to honor the wish, but after the servant's death, he buried him in the local churchyard instead. Soon after, terrifying screams were heard emanating from the grave, and the manor was plagued by poltergeist activity. In desperation, Penny exhumed the body and brought the skull back to the manor, where it was placed in a niche in the attic. The haunting ceased, but it is said that any attempt to remove the skull results in the return of the screaming and supernatural disturbances. Over the years, the skull has become an integral part of Bettiscombe Manor's lore. Visitors report feeling a sense of unease near the skull, and some claim to hear faint whispers or screams. The manor's owners have respected the legend, leaving the skull undisturbed to prevent the return of the haunting. These stories, drawn from the shadows of history, remind us of the thin veil between the known and the unknown. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the accounts of these terrifying incidents continue to captivate and frighten, leaving us to wonder about the mysteries that lurk in the darkness. If you like the video, do not forget to support us, subscribe to the channel, and press the like button to receive all new videos.